Behind me is a beautiful collection that I just bought for $4,500, and this right here is all of the reasons you should source encompassed into one. But I've learned a lot of lessons in my sourcing, including ones recently, and in this video we're going to talk about the 6 reasons why you should not be sourcing in 2023. One of the biggest reasons that you shouldn't be sourcing, and that I have stopped sourcing at times, is cash flow. So I've always moved at the speed of cash in this business. I took 3 months off last year from buying at all because we were building this game barn. And buying this thing in cash and all the furnishing and everything inside of it was very important to me. And the only way that I could do that was to stop sourcing altogether. Now, there's a lot of other reasons that cash flow could be an issue, especially if you're early on in sourcing at the earlier levels of sourcing. Cash flow is very important, and I think moving at the speed of cash significantly reduces the risk of your business. And if you're taking out lines of credit or using credit cards to buy inventory that isn't selling, it really could destroy your business, and in my opinion, that risk is not worth it. So moving at the speed of cash, for me, is very important. You can do whatever you want. I just think operating at the speed of cash with very low risk brings peace of mind to me, my family, the people that work with me, and is very important. So that is number 1, but we're gonna move right on to number 2. And that is, don't buy items that sell quickly. Don't buy items that don't sell quickly. Do buy items that, okay, let's try that again. Don't buy items that don't sell quickly. So low demand items, things that people aren't really searching for, they can clog up your inventory systems. They can cause a lot of issues. They can keep cash flow from being strong, going back to that number 1. I mean, I've got some things up there in my eBay storage system that I've had for well over a year that I wouldn't buy again, right? So there's some unique stuff. Low-end sports cards, for example. Those just, people don't care about them. They're not buying them, and I overpaid for them. There's a lot of reasons that I should have not bought those, and I've learned my lesson. I'm going to, remember that moving forward. So just random weird stuff maybe that you're not an expert in. This train set down here, I shouldn't have bought that. It's really low-end trains. It's not Lionel. I bought it because it looked fancy. It's a bad buy. It's low demand. It's not going to sell, and my money is now tied up in that, and I probably will be difficult to get it back. So don't buy items that have low demand. Now, to clarify that point a little bit, there are certain occasions when it can make sense. For example, when the item has low demand and low supply, that demand still could exceed the supply. So if you can get something that's truly rare, maybe only a few people want it, but there's not that many out there, it might make sense, especially if your buy cost is low and your margin is really strong. But you just need to be really careful in this area. Don't get too much cash flow tied up in low demand items. But that leads right into number 3, and that is buying stuff where your margins are too slim in general. So I just made one buy recently, and as I've gone through it, I'm kind of regretting it because I think I overpaid. I got my eye caught on that item that is glorious and super valuable, and based on that, I paid more for the entire lot. I'll show some of the pieces over here. So, been processing through, and you guys will probably see the full process of this in a future video, but these SNES games were just in terrible condition. I got these ones looking okay, and you'll see. This is the reason I bought the lot. There's an Earthbound, but it's in terrible condition, so it's gonna sell slower. And I paid $500 for everything you see here. All of these games, it took me like an hour and a half just to get them looking somewhat okay. And these all need replacement backs. The system was in terrible condition. For $500, I might make a couple $100, and those margins are way too light for the amount of work that it will take to make that couple $100. I'm gonna predict probably 8 to 10 hours of processing time, plus I have $500 cash tied up for multiple weeks. So margin was too slim here. I probably shouldn't have bought that particular collection for that price. If I would have got it for a couple $100, no brainer. I could just sell as is, move on, make quick money. But to make any money with how much I have into it, I have to put in the work, and that's just not a good buy. Margins are much too slim. That's probably an obvious one, but sometimes the caveat of like, all right, there's a really nice piece in here, you still have to buy right. You know what I mean? You don't want to have your money tied up with really tight margins, especially in used video games or used collectibles. Now, number 4 and 5 are somewhat related, but number 4, buying things that take a long time to process. This is huge, right? So all of our time is incredibly limited. If you're anything like me, you value your time with your family, with your friends, with your kids, with your spouse, and that's the most important thing to you. So if you're buying things that take an incredibly long time to process to get those profit out of it, you know, your time might just slowly go to those things instead of to the things you truly care about. So I make these bad buys sometimes, and I'm really trying to learn lessons. Like this camera's an example. We didn't have a battery on hand that works for this camera, so we have to order the battery. We then have to test it. We have to clean it. We have to make sure everything is good, and it's just sitting here. It's taking a long time to get out of here and to get those profits. Sometimes console buys, some stuff like this, may not make sense because they just take a long time to clean, to get everything good to go with them, to maximize. So those ones, you know, your number 3 has to be really strong. Your margin has to be really strong if you're getting consoles so that it's worth the time that it takes. Time is such a valuable resource, and it's incredibly important in this business of reselling. You got to get stuff that can move quickly. And that takes me back to this buy over here. This is one of the number 1 reasons that this buy was glorious. So the margin was pretty strong on it, but I'm willing to take less of a margin because almost everything you see on this table is super high demand stuff. It's all brand new. You've got sealed like high-end collector's editions right here. You've got sealed security cameras. Almost everything is sealed. The margins were pretty good. It was from a viewer, a guy that I've done multiple deals with, so somebody that I can trust. Christopher, shout out to you. I appreciate the deal. He's moving and getting rid of some stuff. But this is a no-brainer buy. It checks all the boxes. This will probably take us a total of 2 hours to process, and then it's gone. It's out of our hair. We're gonna see a lot of those profit dollars coming in immediately. Time is incredibly valuable. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is buying things that you're not an expert in that take a lot of research. So this also goes back to time, and it can be tempting to just buy everything. You're like, oh man, this could be a really good buy. You know, I got stuff that I've been sitting on, like these action figures, the Rescue Heroes, the old ones. I don't know, I just bought them. I thought those were cool as a kid. Maybe they'll be good. These Fortnite figures, same type of thing. That's just a small example, but there's so many examples over here, and some might argue that the hobby shop buyout had some of this, right? We've had so much time and research into the Lionel trains, the collectibles, all these things we've never dealt with. So Alpal has been researching like crazy. I've been researching like crazy. It's taken hundreds, if not thousands of hours to go through the hobby shop stuff. We still have so much more stuff, so much more things to get through. That one, it's got pros and cons, right? The pros, the margin's amazing. The average sales price from that buyout is probably over $100 because trains are such high value. But the time has been significant. So you have to kind of weigh like, all right, how many of these like reasons not to source does this one check? If it's only like 1, and then it has really 5 strong reasons to source it, 4 or 5, maybe that can be an exception to the rule of the hobby shop. That's why I bought the hobby shop. A lot of people wondered why. Well, the margins were insane. The average sales price was insane. We were willing to sacrifice number 5, that it takes a long time to source. That being said, if it takes a long time to research, that's what I meant to say there, and the margin isn't really strong, and maybe it's not a relationship that you value, it doesn't make sense to do it. Again, your time is incredibly precious. You got to value that. And that ties into number 6, which is don't source from difficult people or difficult stores. Sometimes it can be tempting, if the deal seems right, to go into these situations that stress you out. I've got some stores in my area that I've decided I'm not just going to shop there anymore. Some of you guys may have seen videos on the main channel. For whatever reason, you know, they don't want to sell, or they are just difficult to work with. They're not kind. They're not trying to be flexible on their price or anything like that. Their prerogative, they can do that. But there's a lot of people out there also that want your business, that value cash, that value the relationship. These are people like Michael on the channel. I've done tons of deals with him, like Hobby Shop Ron. He's been incredible to work with. Like Game Barn Justin on this buyout. He was incredible to work with. These people bring me life. And it gets me excited for the next deal. Christopher, that I made this deal with on Instagram, really nice guy. Just talked to a guy named Santiago, a viewer who I'm buying some amazing items from. Stay tuned for that. Those people are the ones that I want to deal with, and you've got people probably in your local network that you get life from dealing with. If you're in this business for the long haul, you got to be dealing with those people as often as possible. I've been doing it full time for about 7 years, and I've been doing it for like 14 years before that. So I'm in this for the long haul. I don't plan on doing anything else as far as a career goes. So it's very important to me to keep my love, my thrill to find, my love for this business in it. And if I'm spending time with people that don't want to do business with me or don't want to be flexible and are tough to work with, stressing me out, it's going to make that a lot harder. So that's hugely important, is dealing with the right people in the right stores. So we're going to get to processing this beautifully sourced collection that checked all of the right boxes for why one should source. If you want to see a video on that, how we're going to process all of this, plus all the games on that shelf behind Matt, hopefully in one day, subscribe, because we're going to film that video right after this one, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.